Ladies and gentlemen, it is Friday. It is Friday. It is April 10th, 2026. We have a lot going on with the Jets and with life in general. In case you, in case you didn't see it, we had some late breaking news. In fact, Dontavian Wicks, the wide receiver from the Green Bay Packers, was in fact traded today to a team with green colors, but it was not the Jets. It was the Philadelphia Eagles in exchange for a 2026 fifth round pick and a 2027 sixth round pick. So a couple of picks go to the Packers, and Dontavian Wicks, the wide receiver, goes over to the Eagles. And he also got a contract extension. In addition to that, cornerback Jack Jones, formerly with the Dolphins, is signing a 1-year deal with the San Francisco 49ers. So he will be getting very acquainted with the electrical substation out in Frisco. The Atlanta Falcons have exercised Bijan Robinson's fifth-year option. Sources tell the NFL on CBS. Consider this. So Bijan Robinson, that's just an official. They knew they were going to do that. Um, so that is the breaking news as far as the NFL is concerned. Let me know if you could hear me in the chat. Let me know if you're sitting there. We also have a space mission going on. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but this is a live view of a space mission. Yes, the astronauts are coming back to Earth after flying around the moon. And they're currently traveling at about almost 10,000 miles per hour, which is kind of hard to believe. Kind of hard to believe. Phil Adams is here. All right. Not looking, it might be a slow Friday, Phil. Maybe. But watching this space mission, this is actually live. You're seeing a camera outside of the capsule. And so it is actually falling to Earth at about 10,000 miles an hour. And that thing on the right you see there, that's planet Earth. You know, that's the place where you live. And you can see that they're going to be splashing down, if all goes well, in about 2 hours. So it's an exciting but also nervous time because something could go wrong, of course, but hopefully it doesn't. And these astronauts who are doing such a great and amazing mission can splash down safely and be all good in the hood. So we got that going on, and we'll keep an eye on that. We also have some things for the draft that we want to try out. For example, what about this ticker? So let's say this was the draft and we were going to be doing the ticker. Bill Adams says he watched the first moon landing as a child and was exciting for the whole world. Yeah, well, now we have plans. We have incredible plans. We have all the plans. But as you can see this ticker up here, what if we had this ticker where we kept track of all the Jets draft picks? Let me know what you think, Phil. Anybody else in the chat? But yeah, now this mission for Artemis over here, this is like hopefully all goes well, and if all does go well, in about 2 hours' time, we'll know if it does. And if it does, then the NASA will have learned so much, and so much so that I think later this year, the plan is to do another moon mission and start to establish a permanent moon base, as you can see from this little video here. It says NASA announces plans for moon base. That was 2 weeks ago. So that's some news you might have missed if you were not paying attention. But we're going to have a moon base, everybody. A base on the moon. And then after that, we're going to Mars. That'll take a little longer, but still, we're definitely going to have, it looks like, a base on the moon if all goes well, if we learn what we think we're going to learn. But what you're looking at is the actual spacecraft in live time. It doesn't look like it's moving, but it's actually moving at over 10,000 miles per hour, if you can believe that. You thought going 80 miles an hour on the freeway was fast. Well, 10,000 miles per hour is a whole different kind of speed. And the blue thing over here in the corner, this is a planet you may know and love. It's called Earth. And the spacecraft is approaching it. Phil says, yes, Frankie tickers are a winner. Comedy tickers even better. Well, yeah, I mean, the hard thing with that is keeping up with it, of course. I have to write new jokes all day. It takes a while. So this ticker will probably use for the draft to keep track of all the, as we draft people, we'll just have an ongoing ticker of who the heck we picked. But then we could also have this. So like whatever day it is, so the ticker will be for all the picks for all the days. But this one here, we could just keep track of, okay, who did we take today? So we could have the little docket up there for the day picks and then the ticker for all the picks. So let me know what you guys think. I see 8 people in the chat, so this Friday may be a little slow. These live streams, sometimes they take a little while to get going. And sometimes people are just like, we don't care about the Jets right now, Frankie. So you always got to be ready to bail if necessary. So we'll see how many people show up. I thought we would call this Film Study Friday because I wanted to do some film study on Geno Smith. You might not have... you might not really know what Geno's been up to since he stopped being a Jet, and especially last year when he was with the Raiders. You probably weren't paying too much attention to the Raiders. So I thought that we would take a look and see what Geno is really up to or was up to last year. Do a little film study and see what we can ascertain about Geno's play from last year. So, just trying to see if there's actual news or just some fake crap going on. Here looks like a bunch of fake nonsense. Pablo Torres turning into a political guy, apparently. We thought he was a sports guy. Apparently not. Now he's part of the political machinery. All right, so let's get rid of that guy. The Jets. All right, nothing really going on there. Howie's here. Good evening. Howie, let me know if you want to do some film study. We got to take a look. Yeah, we got to take a look. We got to take a good look. Got to take a good hard look at Geno. So I guess some minor news. Diana Rossini, the New York Post is reporting, quote unquote, sidelined by New York Times, that's who owns The Athletic, after internal investigation into bombshell Mike Vrabel photos raised additional concerns, quote unquote. So apparently, The Athletic, New York Times, looking into Miss Rossini and all of her various doings. So we'll have to see how that works out. As I've mentioned a number of times, her journalism is quite uh, dirty. Um, do. So just trying to see now. The one thing that this Dontavian Wicks trade really brings up a question is what is the plan by Muji and company with regard to these wide receivers? We saw a number of them come off the board, and now one more is off the board via the trade. This is something I did a video on. Dontavian Wicks was one of the wide receivers mentioned by national reporters as being possibly traded. There was a lot of good reasons on both sides as to why he would be traded, and now he has been traded. And it was not to the Jets, though. So it brings up the question as to what is the plan, Mr. Muji, at the wide receiver position. And starting to worry a little bit. But maybe after this trade, maybe there'll be more clarity on a B2J trade because maybe the Eagles were in on that. Maybe there's something else. I don't know. Maybe he's just thinking he could get everything he needs in the draft, which is dicey, a little dicey. But we'll have to see. But as of right now, it's a little bit perplexing. Little bit perplexing. Hefe is here. Good to see Hefe. Howie's here. The Eagles got the wide receiver. Yeah. Well, and I'd love to see. All right, so we're going to watch some film of Gino here in a few minutes and let people get in here. We're up to 15 whole people. Holy smokes. Yeah, so it was rumored that, Wicks was on the block and Howie swooped in and got him. Now, their situation is a little different. It's looking like they're going to trade A.J. Brown to probably to the Patriots, to Mr. Vrabel. I don't know why other teams aren't involved in that, but nonetheless, they have the cap space. The Patriots do, and it seems like Brown wants out and wants to go to his old coach Vrabel. So now they got Wicks to not as a direct replacement, but as some depth in case they lose him or in case they trade him. I guess you could say. So that makes sense all around. And I guess Muji didn't want to pay that high of a price for Wicks. Obviously, he could have beat that deal if he wanted to, but obviously, he didn't want to. And so, um, so that being the case, the question then becomes, what is the plan here, Mr. Muji? Now, there's plenty of other people we could possibly trade for. Brian Thomas Jr. being on top of the list. Rashad Bateman has also been rumored. Not sure why the Ravens would get rid of Bateman, though they need wide receivers, and they're in their Super Bowl window. As long as they have Lamar, they're in a Super Bowl window, even though their team is looking a little less solid than normal. But still, uh, so maybe Juwan Jennings is still out there, but I mean, nobody really knows why he's still out there. He's a really good wide receiver, other than people have said, well, his asking price is too high. No one wants to pay what he is asking. So at some point, you'd think he's got to come to his senses and say, all right, I'll take this deal from whoever it is. But it's also, find it unlikely he'd want to come to the Jets just because we have an uncertain situation with our offense. And so I don't know. But there's got to be something now. The Now, Will Parkinson said something that is noteworthy. Sometimes he says something that's noteworthy, and he said, because he does have sources within the Jets, and he said the Jets are well aware of their gigantic hole at wide receiver. It's not like they think they're good with the roster as it is. They are not. And I believe Will on that point. And I can always tell when somebody's fudging or whatever. But I believe that's true. It also makes logical sense. So that being the case, something's got to be brewing. But the problem is we don't know what it is yet, and it's getting kind of late early here, as they say. So Jefe says, do you think the NFL could look into penalties? Well, yeah, it seems like it's tampering. Vrabel has already said he communicates with A.J. Brown regularly. Isn't that tampering? Now, I don't think they could really do anything about the actual situation with Rossini, but they could start to put together some evidence. So she is the one who's always reporting out about A.J. Brown and about Vrabel when he was getting fired going through the interview circuit. She would always be putting out breaking news per sources. Vrabel's doing this about Vrabel, that about Vrabel. So that's probably not punishable. You're allowed to talk to journalists if you want to, and you're allowed to shtup journalists if you want to. So I don't think there's anything they can do about that. But the thing they could start looking at is whether Vrabel tampered either directly by talking to Brown, the player, just like that, or B, indirectly by having his journalist side piece girlfriend influence public opinion one way or another by putting things out that are favorable to what Vrabel wants to do, which in this case is acquire A.J. Brown from the Eagles. So there's something there. There's something there. I'm sure the NFL does not want. Oh, this also looks very bad for the NFL. You have one of your, she works for The Athletic, but you have one of the fairly big time insiders, very well known, and it's pretty much coming out. And all the clips she's said and done over the years, everything's looking very sketchy. She has there's a lot of tape on Rossini saying a lot of bad things about her husband. For example, now it's not illegal to say bad things about your husband or anything, but there's just a lot of circumstantial evidence that this affair was going on. And like I said, I don't think they can punish Vrabel for having an affair. That's probably, that's probably a bridge too far. But tampering into A.J. Brown, that seems like it's ripe for the NFL to look into if they want to. Now, I don't know if they want to. It's pretty unsavory, to say the least. So there's where Vrabel and the Pats could get penalized, but I still think that's probably a long shot. Mooj must be confident with his bucket. Yeah, but you need a veteran anyway, even if it's just sign Tyler Lockett. I mean, that's not really a solution, but at least get Lockett on the roster. It's just, as wide receiver 6, something. I mean, the cupboard's pretty bare. And plus, putting all your hopes and dreams into the draft where wacky things can happen, that's risky. Risky. Sirianni, get Rossini in the deal. Well, I don't know. But The Athletic is looking into it according to reports. So, we'll have to see what the result of that is. I mean, if she can't provide any evidence of what she said the excuse was, this was supposed to be a girls' trip, go hiking in this place in Arizona. Well, then is there any photographic evidence of these other alleged people that are your friends that were supposed to be there? And if she does, then maybe she's fine because you can't prove Anything happened, and she could just say, yeah, and I just happened to run into Vrabel, and of course I know him, because the other thing is that she used to be the Tennessee Titans reporter. Don't forget, she was a journalist, quote unquote, for the Tennessee Titans during the time when Vrabel was the head coach. And there's a lot of very weird video clips and pictures of those two together for that. But then again, it's not against the rules to be weird or to have strange pictures taken or. So it's all circumstantial. And if she can prove, if she has any evidence to back up her stupid story, which if she were smart, she would have had a couple of friends there and taken some pictures just in case, you know, you know. And but if she doesn't, then I mean, it's kind of like this is looking pretty bad, Diana. So we'll see. But the tampering thing with AJ Brown is something that could be looked into for sure. But I would say it's pretty unlikely though. So now the Eagles, yeah, they're talking about the Eagles. After this trade, the Eagles added Dontavian Wicks, Hollywood Brown, we forget about that, and Elijah Moore. So this tells you that the Eagles are trading A.J. Brown, right? They added Dontavian Wicks, Hollywood Brown, and Elijah Moore, and they already have Devontae Smith. So they're trading A.J. Brown, right? I mean, that's what this is telling you, I think. And my question is, why isn't anybody else stepping up for A.J. Brown? What? Vrabel's the only person who wants him the whole league? This is a really good wide receiver. Why doesn't anybody else want him? You know? Shoot, we could get him. Maybe we're going to trade for A.J. Brown. I doubt that, but we'd have to rework the contract. But we could get him. We got plenty of money starting next year. We just push the money to next year for a big time contract like that. I mean, we could extend him. Maybe that's what Muji's doing. Imagine that. Now that'd be funny. All this stuff comes out about Vrabel. His marriage is probably in the shitter. I mean, we're going to get news. You got to think. In the next month, Jennifer Vrabel files for divorce. I mean, is she really going to stick with this guy? When she could just take half his money and not have to deal with his dumbass? So that's for one thing. His marriage is probably over. And then on top of that, what if Muji swoops in and makes a trade for A.J. Brown? To not only get him for us, but to keep him away from Drake May and Vrabel. That would be a masterstroke. That would be really funny. I mean, that would just be funny, just on top of everything else. It'd be good for us. Why not? We'll take it. Gino will be the happiest man on earth. But on top of everything else, we steal Vrabel's binky. Now that would be a good day to be a Jet fan. Hi, Karate is here. He says, good evening. Hefe says, yes, the Athletic and NYT must try to appear to be not as crooked as they are. Right. And plus, they already took her podcast away. She's not doing her podcast anymore. They said they're reorganizing it or something. They fired Chase Daniel. That guy fired. Get out of here, Chase Daniel. We don't need you no more. And so they said it's on hiatus or something. So they already suspended her podcast. I mean, they probably figured out she runs her damn mouth too much, talking about her marriage and her husband. I mean, there's so many clips of her basically shitting on her husband. I mean, this poor guy. Shake Shack executive. He's shook. That guy should be filing for divorce also, obviously, in my opinion, allegedly. But, I mean, what do they need this kind of a scandal for? I mean, this really does break. I mean, they have a lot of there's a lot of shitty journalism that goes on with the Athletic and all these places, but this is way over the line. This is just way over the line for any kind of any kind of thing that's supposed to have journalistic integrity at all. This is way, way over the line. So, I mean, it's one thing because you can, remember, she was the one who co wrote the 30 disgruntled employee article with Zach the Hack. So does that make sense? She's she's with Vrabel shit on Jets. Get it? See how it works? But an article like that, you could at least defend and say, well, the people who were quoting, they really said these things. We know they said these things. We double checked and triple checked it. And we fact checked it. Yeah, they said all these things. And we also let the Jets respond to all the accusations in the report. We gave their side of the story. And so you could at least from their point of view say this is fine from an integrity perspective. I don't think so because you're leaving out a lot of context and that's how it works these days and you're leading people to believe things that are different like if you say the Jets are using Madden ratings in their evaluations but you leave out the fact that all the other teams do so as well and even the Baltimore Ravens came out Eric DeCosta said yeah we factored into our matrix yeah of course. So if you leave that out you're leaving out a big piece of it. You're making the Jets look like idiots when all the teams do the same thing in that particular case. Right? So that's how it's done. But at least you could justify that sort of thing. This is just beyond any. This is just way, way beyond. So if they think she's really doing this, then she's probably got to go. I mean, let's be honest. She's making, plus, not to mention, she's making all the other female journalists look terrible. Because now a lot of people are going to say, oh, this is how the female journalists do it? Oh, that's not good. Because there are a lot of great female journalists. As I've pointed out many times, Mary Kay Cabot, Holly Rowe, many others do it the right way. Now, Teresa Thompson, she does it the wrong way. She doesn't do what uh, Rossini allegedly did, but she was someone who just made up quotes and admitted it and didn't lose her job or anything. That's like one of the number one things you shouldn't do as a journalist. So she's an example of another bad one for another reason, but there's plenty of good ones. And this is just not good for females in journalism when they're covering male-dominated sports and whatnot. So uh, there's just a lot to this, and it's just really, really embarrassing. But I gotta say, I called it from years ago. So if you want tomorrow's news today, FSPN, watch old Frankie. JoJo's here. Now it always makes sense. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. A lot of these people, that's what it is. They got something against Woody or they got something against the Jets or they're in bed, literally, allegedly, with somebody who was against the Jets. Like Todd McShay, for example, his college roommate was Joe Douglas. Joe Douglas, his college teammate, was Joe Douglas. Well, at the end, when the Jets treated Douglas badly, in Douglas's opinion, McShay's going to hate Woody then. That's who Douglas's boss was. So there's another example. You have a conflict. A lot of these people have some sort of conflict. Albert Breer lives in New England, grew up in New England, is a Patriot fan. Albert Breer, national reporter. You think he has any love for the Jets? He's a Patriot fan. Been a Patriot fan since he was a little boy. You think he really gives a shit about the Jets or the Dolphins or the Bills? No. He's a Patriot fan. That's who he is. So you just have to know a lot of this stuff and then you have to follow Frankie. I'm sorry, you have to watch this channel if you want to know what's going on because I was telling you guys about this for years. Now we're here. If only Douglas was good at hiking. Yeah, well, quote unquote, hiking. Yeah, Dirty Diana, as I have said for years, which was a triple entendre, JoJo. You had the Michael Jackson song, which you should listen to the lyrics to. It's also a great song. And if you listen to those lyrics, you'll know what was going on with me at SUNY New Paltz, a little bit on my scale. But then also the dirty journalism that she was doing, and then this sort of stuff, which there were rumors about for years and years and years. Mike Vrabel isn't the only one she's rumored to have slept with. There's also rumors that she slept with Sean McVay back in the day when he was a lesser known dude, and also the GM of the Commanders, whose wife publicly accused her of sleeping with her husband. So all of those things are rumors. We don't know if they're true. They're all allegedly, but they have been out in the public space. The people talking about them. And so, not looking too good. Not looking too good for that. All right. But let's move on with some positivity. How about we watch Geno Smith throw some touchdowns? You may not know it, but Geno Smith is a quarterback who played. Why isn't that? Okay. Who played for the Raiders last year. And therefore, there were some touchdowns. So now, here you see they're in 12 personnel. We got 2 wide receivers out here. We got Michael Mayer. We got Brock Tower of Power Bowers. And you have the Patriots in some sort of, looks like cover 2 situation. So what does El Geno do? Well, let's find out. Drops back, throws a bomb. How about this? Tink. Touchdown. Want to see a nice rainbow touchdown? How about this one? Let's look at it from this angle. We got Genty in the backfield. This is 66's Parham. Look at that anchor. Nice. Geno, see you later. That could be Arian Smith. That could be Garrett. All right. Pretty good. No videos. What? What are you talking about? All right, we got to reload it. Hang on. Hang on a second. We reloaded it. All right, let's go to this one. Doo-doo. Hang on. The Rossini files, Iowa Jets fan says. Doo-doo. All right, here we are in the low red zone. We got 11 personnel, 3 wide receivers, 1 in the slot. This is Bowers here. Now, the red zone is a lot harder than it seems, so a lot of these are going to be in the red zone. Can't find his guy initially. There he goes. Trey Tucker, touchdown. Easy peasy. Now, this looks easy, but it's not, of course. You got this is the Commanders. And what's good about this is he goes through his progressions. Doesn't like this, doesn't like that. Nope. Oh, buys a little time and throws it behind Bobby Wagner. Now, Bobby Wagner is about 10,000 years old. And you can see the problem with Bobby Wagner. But still able to find an open man, hit him for a touchdown. Good, we like it. Here we got the Commanders again. Looks similar, but we got 2 tight ends. This is Ian Thomas down here. Again, Geno buys a little time, finds his crosser, touchdown. Nicely done. And again, 66 is Parham. We have gotten him, in case you're not sure about him. Doesn't do much on that play, but still nicely done. All right, now, look where they are on the field on this one. You think Geno's got an arm or not? Is Geno a gunslinger with a cannon or not? Can he throw the ball? I don't know, but he's going to be back here. This is the 30-yard line, the minus 30-yard line. Let's watch. See what happens. There's 11 personnel. We got 2-by-2 formation here. This is Bowers in the slot. Throws it from the 30-yard line. Ink. That a cannon? Does he have an arm or can he or not? Or is he a pea shooter? He throws it from the negative 30-yard line to about the plus 20. This is a 60-yard pass about. Right on the money. Bink. Later. Think Arian Smith could do that? You think A.D. Mitchell could do that? Nice. We got a guy who can stretch the field and also perform in the red zone. This is against the Bears. Now, the Bears got him. Kevin Byard got him a couple of times, so we got to be careful with Kevin Byard. But not on this one, though. Motion man to get us a 2x2, a little fake. Out to the back. That could be Breece Hall. See you later. One broken tackle. Touchdown. Nice. We could do the same. We got Breece Hall. He could do this. Why not? Yeah, a little motion. A little fake. Here it comes. A little fakey wakey. Get your hips turned. Boom. On target. See you later. Touchdown. Nice. Nice. Why not? We could do it. This could be us. Here's another one from the middle red zone here. Again, 11 personnel. Well, just find your outlet. Make the easy stuff easy, and we could all be dancing in the end zone. That could be us. We could all be dancing in the end zone. You know, why make it hard? Just find your outlet. One broken tackle in the end zone. Breece could break some tackles. Breece could do some dancing. Why not? I don't see any reason why not. Now here we are in the low red zone. You notice 16 is Lockett, by the way, I believe, who should be signed to our team immediately. I don't know why he's not. Not that he's great, but we don't have much. Here he fakes a little bit and then gets to his tight end who's leaking out. So 87 is Mayer. Michael Mayer. So he's in line here, so Bauer's not on the field on this play. And this is a leak. He's blocking, and then all of a sudden he leaks. I love that play. Because once you start blocking, they forget about you. We need to utilize that in this offense. Again, low red zone. This time 12 personnel, and you're splitting Bowers out over here. This could totally be Mason Taylor, by the way. Watch this. Back shoulder, bink. Now, you could use two hands, Brock. You don't have to show off, but still, that could be Mason. Totally could be, because there's going to be a mismatch. No matter who they put on him. Mason could make this catch. Why not? Totally could be us. Bink. They initially said he was out of bounds, but it is actually a touchdown. I don't see why we can't do that. And you see the back shoulder throw by Gino. Good at doing that. 87 Mayer in motion to get a 3x1. Look. All right. And this is just a screen. All right. And let the running back do his thing. Ashton Genty, Mr. Broken Tackles. And again, and this time he takes a bow. We could be taking a bow. We totally could. But again, this is a nice simple play, but you have to make the simple plays. You can't screw them up. You know, it's there to be made. Just throw it right on his face mask, and he's got it. On time and accurate. Let your playmakers make plays. We got playmakers. Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, A.D. Mitchell. Here's a 2x2 formation. We got a second tight end, so this is 12 personnel. Waits. He uncovers. Boom. Move up in the pocket. Wait for your all-world tight end to get open and hit him accurately. Mason could do that. Why not? Here's Parham here, 6'6". Does a good job. Guy gets knocked around, but enough time. Finds him. Let the guy run. Let the man eat. Brock Bowers, Tower of Power. Brock Bowers is so good, man. Now, here's the low red zone. We got this is 12 personnel here. Motion. Wait. Boom. Again, Brock Bowers. If you have Brock Bowers, you might as well use him. But, just manipulating the pocket a little bit to give yourself enough time for him to come open. Boom, there it is. Hit it. No hesitation. Bada bing, bada boom. Again, red zone. So, how many times have you heard Jet coaches or the media talk about how come our red zone offense stinks so much, coach? They ask him. Well, in the red zone, things have to speed up. They don't slow down, and it's not easier because of the condensed field. Now, you got a mismatch with 55, doesn't know what's going on here. Something's up. And so I think Dallas was confused on this one. Here's Quinnen Williams. You might have heard of him. Right here, 92, I believe. And there's something they confused him here because 55 is very confused. And you see the Quinnen Williams Jets level effort on there. So that's just a screen where you recognize that they're way out of position and you hit your guy and let your guys block and get in there. Again, low red zone. This is 13 personnel, I think. Well, Ian Thomas is in there. But scramble out, find your guy. Buy some time in the scramble. Find your guy. Now, this is just regular 12 without Mayer. So this is Ian Thomas and Bowers. And this is the vaunted Browns defense. This is the rookie of the year, Schwessinger. Myles Garrett over here, so they run it away from him, probably smart. Wait for him to uncover, hit him. Let's go. All right, this is against the Chargers. Okay, 3-1. This is Jack Besh out here. Motion, a little exit motion for Tucker. And Bowers wide open, easy. Don't make the easy stuff hard. Make it easy. Bowers somehow has a knack for getting open quite a lot. So just hit him. So hopefully Mason can do some of the same stuff. And in that case, Lockett was the man that uncovered him because guys moved to him, and that uncovered Bowers. So just good design there by the offense. Multiple people in motion. Hopefully, you got to get set. Okay. 12 personnel here. Bowers on the outside. Now, I mean, this is, come on. This is a Superman catch. How does he catch this? Now, Mason can't do this probably. I mean, let's be honest. This is kind of silly. You can't even see it from that angle, but crazy Superman catch by Bowers. So we probably can't do that one, but still. All right. High red zone. What do we got? 11 personnel. Bowers starts out on the line, then they leak him out, and he just uncovers, so you hit him. But some of these things that look easy, some quarterbacks can't do it. And hopefully he establishes good rapport with Mason Taylor like he has with Bowers here. Didn't even look anywhere else on that play. He just knew he was going to get open. So, nice job. And hopefully, he has the same with Mason because I think the Jet brass feels like Mason could be a big weapon. Not as good as Bowers, of course, but again, Bowers, boom, touchdown. But you see the quick decision making, and even when he's kind of covered, he just knows kind of how to throw it to him. Throw it over their head, he'll jump. These are little subtle nuances. There's a fake. Just put it there before the safety gets there. Nice. Again, Bowers. So he's just utilizing his tight end. Nicely done. Now, this is going to be a touchdown. So how far do you think he's going to throw it here? Is that the 30? Look at this throw. And that's the running back, by the way. Let's throw a wheel route to Brees. Can we please? Or Braylon. Nicely done. But you notice he puts it right in the bucket from the rush is coming. Now he's wide open, but still you got to put it in the bucket. Nice throw. Let your running back run past everyone. That's what they do. Let him start dancing. All right, now we got a low red zone against the Gigantes. 2-by-2 action. Looks to the right, looks to the left, scramble a little bit, boom. Hit Tyler Lockett for a touchdown. But again, good pocket manipulation, does not freak out, keeps his head downfield, looking, up, a little pressure, up, bink. Again, looks easy. As we know as Jet fans, it really is not. I think that's about all the plays. So the other thing you want to look at too, so we just watched the film, but look at this. As you can see right here, on target percentage. Percentage of on target throws per pass attempt, excluding spikes and throwaways. And where's old Geno? Tied for 12th in the league, and that was in his bad year with Las Vegas. And in fact, he was tied with Tua, and Mac Jones is a backup. So if you only look at the starters, he's a top 10 guy, throwing the ball on target. Plus, he could throw it 60 yards downfield, as we saw a couple of times there. So, he could actually be good. What happens if Geno's actually good? Well, a lot of narratives would get busted. We know that. So, let me know what you think about this film study. Every week we could do different film studies. Obviously we're not going to do Geno every week, but every week we could pick out a different player that we want to take a look at on film. Cut it up. Jojo says, I expect Garrett to have his best season. I can see Geno targeting 10 to 15 times a game. Yeah, for sure he is. Also, A.D. Mitchell's probably going to break out. Also, Mason Taylor should be a big contributor. Also, Breece Hall should have a big year. All those people should be our main weapons. Well, as of now, they're our only weapons, but still, we're going to acquire someone else, you would think. And as of right now, we do not know what the wide receiver plan with Mr. Muji is. He's let a lot of people go off the board at that position. And according to Will Parkinson, he is well aware, and also according to logic, of the hole on the roster at that position. They're not ignorant about it. So there has to be some problem, or something up his sleeve, and what that is, we just don't know. Hefe, does our new guard Parham look good on this film too? Yeah. The thing you notice with Parham is he's got a really good anchor. Did you see his legs? This man has gigantic legs. Did you see them? Look at... Oh, he didn't play in this game. Hang on a second. Look at this man's gigantic legs. Look at this one. Look at the end zone view. So, if you look at it, here he is right here. This man has tree stumps for legs. And what he has is an anchor. Look at these guys. They can't even come close to Geno. So he may not be as athletic as Simpson, so you're not going to run him out maybe and do some of that. But what I care about is, can you prevent my quarterback from getting killed? We could figure out a plan. We already have an athletic guard named Tippmann. We can get him out if we need to. So he has these big giant legs. He gets his heels into the ground and he anchors very well. And that's what he does. And so I think it's going to be an improvement in that area. Maybe he won't be as good of a run blocker as Simpson. Okay, I'll take the trade-off. I'll take the trade-off. Where's the Do you think signing Gino alleviates the panic? Yeah. Yeah, I do think that the regime, there's a lot of people talking about the Jets are just all focused on 27 and Gino's just a bridge to 27. I don't think the Jets look at it that way. Even Aaron Glenn's quote, he was like, if he goes out there and throws for 4,000 yards and 30 touchdowns, you think we're not re signing him? So he was basically saying if he has a good year and he plays well, of course we're going to re sign him. I mean, why can't we give him a new 3-year deal that's really a 2-year deal type of thing? And we give him decent starter money, 25, 30, something. And then you can go, if Ty Simpson falls in your lap at 44, great, grab him. If not, no problem. And then maybe you take a guy on day 3. If Aller's still around on day 3, yeah, take a flyer. Why not? Or Cole Payton or whatever you like. But those guys aren't expected to play. They're just developmental. Then next year comes around. We still have Geno. And you could do what the Raiders are doing. What is all in the headlines this year? And it'll be funny. We need to keep an eye on this. Because what are the headlines? What are all the people on television telling you? Oh, what a smart move by the Raiders. They just signed Kirky Cousins, and he's going to start, and Mendoza's going to be on the bench. And they're saying, what a wonderful plan. Okay, but that's the first overall pick. The Heisman winner. The national champion, and they're sitting him on the bench? Yeah? Okay, well then when whatever quarterback we pick in 27, if we want to sit it behind Geno, it better be the same energy from these fuckers. Otherwise, I'm calling it out. It better be the same. If we re-sign, if Geno has a shitty year and it's terrible, then bye-bye Geno, and we need to completely start over. But if he plays as well as I think he will, and I don't see any reason why he wouldn't. This is going to be the best offensive line he's ever played behind, the best running game he's ever had, and depending on if we can find 2 more receivers who are good, it'll be at least a nice receiving core to throw to. So I don't see any reason why, really, Smith can't put up the numbers he put up in Seattle at least, which were nice. And if he does that, he's coming back. There's no doubt about it. And we can sign him to a nice 3-year deal that's team-friendly. He's only 35, 36. Quarterbacks these days play into their late 30s. It's not a problem. Look at Kirk Cousins. So the other thing, if anybody tells you he's old, well, then why did you say it was a great plan for Kirk Cousins, who's 39? Or a great plan for the Steelers getting, Rodgers if they do for age 43 season, which, by the way, the draft is within 2 weeks. We still don't know what Aaron Rodgers is doing. What is up with that? But these people better have the same fucking energy if we put whoever we get in 27, if we put him on the bench behind Geno. I want the same energy out of these fuckers. Otherwise, I'm taking names. I'm writing it down. See this? Look at this. I got a pad right here. See it? It's got green ink. You see this? Look at this. See it? And I'm writing the names. Ready? Brian Baldinga. Right? Writing it down. Green ink. Right there. Huh? I'm taking down their names so that I remember who said what about who and what and whatever. That's what we're doing over here. Because that's what you better keep it consistent now. Maybe they will. Maybe they'll be good boys and girls. But if they try to shit on the Jets for doing the same thing that the Raiders with Tom Brady, Tom Brady, Tom Brady did it, it must be good. He knows what he's doing. But the Jets do the same thing. Oh, they're a bunch of idiots. Nope. No. We're not playing that game. So, yes, I look at Geno as our Jared Goff. You may say, that doesn't make any sense. Well, it does, in that the Lions acquired Jared Goff in that trade, if you remember, and all those draft picks, set them up nicely. And everyone expected them to move on from Jared Goff after a year or 2 or 3, maybe. People forget this. Goff was going to be, and Goff did not play well the first year with the Lions when they had no players. He kind of stunk. And everybody's like, well, he's just a bridge. Don't worry. They're going to get Malik Willis, if you remember that. And Malik Willis is going to sit behind Goff, and that's what's going to happen. It's supposed to be a bridge. Well, he played so well that he just kept playing. Now, the big difference between Goff and Geno, of course, is age. So we can't play the long game with Geno, but we certainly could get 2 or 3 years out of him if he plays well enough to justify doing so. That's why I think the Jets are not desperate to do anything at quarterback. If something falls in their lap, great. I'm sure they have a value on Ty Simpson, for example. It's probably a second-round value if I had to guess, simply because of the injuries and the inexperience and everything else. So if he's sitting there at 44, okay, now the value matches what you have. All right. And he's going to sit behind Geno, fine. And we see how that goes this year, and then, we see how it goes. I mean, maybe we fall in love with him in practice and in preseason and his habits and the teammates and all that stuff, and we hand it over and we keep Geno as a backup or something. That could happen. Remember Testaverde and Pennington? That was sort of back and forth there, and sometimes it was Vinny, and then Pennington took over, and then Vinny was the backup, and it was all good in the hood. So why can't we do that? And I see really no reason, after watching all the film and looking at the stats, but mostly watching the film, I don't see any reason why Geno can't put up his Seattle stats here, which is a very good winning quarterback who went to the playoffs with a team that was, pretty good, but not what Super Bowl level what they were last year or anything. They were pretty good, and they made the playoffs, and they won, more than they lost, and he put up 2 4,000-yard seasons. One season he just missed 4,000 yards, and all this. So I see no reason. Good Geno, and we'll be able to enjoy some football for a change. Yeah, because I think Aaron Glenn wants to turn this thing around. There's a lot of people saying, well, they picked Geno because he'd be good enough to win 5 or 6 games, but not good enough to win 9 or 10. And they think they're so smart. Meanwhile, all Geno did was win about 10 games a year in Seattle. I mean, let me check that. Last year there, I know he won 10. I think another year he won 9. I just don't understand. Yeah, in Seattle he went 9-8, 8-7, 10-7. Always had a winning record. Won at least 8 games every single year. Had a winning record every single year. Made the playoffs his last year, 10-7. And I mean, one of those years he led the league in game-winning drives, and in that same year he also led the league in fourth-quarter comebacks. So, I mean, there's no reason why he can't be a solid quarterback. And these are teams around him where, they had talent. They were good teams, but I don't think they were great teams. So 4,300, 4,200 yards, and then a 3,600-yard game where he only played 15 games. So the 2 years where he played 17 games, he threw for over 4,200 yards. These seasons would be the all-time bests of any Jet quarterback of all time. One time he threw for 30 touchdowns, and then his other 17-game season he threw for 21. Now, his picks are always a little too high. But the thing with Geno is he's going to have 2 or 3 throws a game that are what the fuck throws, WTF throws. What are we doing, Geno? He has 2 or 3 per game. That's the way it is. I watched enough of his games. It's pretty consistent. 2 or 3 times a game, we're going to say, what are we doing, Geno? Geno, what are you doing? What were you looking at? And it doesn't make sense. He makes dumbass throws 2 to 3 times per game. That's just what it is. I wish he didn't. If he didn't do that, he'd probably be an elite quarterback because that's the one thing that's actually keeping him from being an elite quarterback. But if you think about it, this is only his fifth year as a starter, after his renaissance. So do quarterbacks get better fifth, sixth, seventh year of starting in the league? Yeah, they do. And his problem is his time's going to eventually run out because this year is going to be his age 36 year. So, he's only got a few left, but still, the other way to look at it is he doesn't have the wear and tear on his arm and legs like other starting quarterbacks do because he was on the bench for all those other years. So I really see no reason he can't put up the Seattle numbers. I really don't. Jojo says, nothing wrong with drafting Simpson and sitting him for 2 years. Yeah, there's nothing wrong as long as you get him at the value that you want. Like, I wouldn't want to do that and pick him at 16. I don't want to do that. I think for me, if you're taking Simpson, it's got to be because he fell to you in round 2. Because if you take him at 16, then you're missing out on the wide receivers you could get there. Or if there was a run on wide receivers, then you're missing out on an incredible defender that you could get there. So I agree, but not in the first round for me. Now, maybe you want to trade into the first round and get a third first rounder. Kind of like the Giants did for Dart, but I'd rather he's not that type of prospect. Plus, like I said, I think the Jets are looking at Geno as a 2 or 3 year bridge, potentially. And if a young fella comes along and just blows the doors off it, all right, we'll get him in there. But you don't have to put yourself into a dire situation. I think they're looking at Geno and saying he's the Seattle guy that we saw. 4,282 yards in 17 games. Then next year he missed a couple of games, 3,600 yards. And then the next year played 17 games, 4,300 yards. So I think they're looking and saying that's the guy that we have here. If you protect Geno, he can be a good quarterback. I think we can protect him. And we got 2 good receivers. We need a third and a fourth. But that's why this trade today is a little perplexing of Dontavian Wicks. Now, the Packers got a good return. I think the Eagles probably overpaid for him. But still, if they know they're going to trade A.J. Brown, then they're going to get draft capital back from that, so they don't care about that, I guess. And so for them, they probably, it's obvious that Mooj didn't want to go to this level. They gave up a 5th rounder this year and a 6th rounder next year to get Wicks. And obviously, Mooj didn't want to beat that deal. Or he's got another deal in his back pocket that we don't know about. Because all we really need to do is get at least one good weapon and then some okay weapons, and we have the makings of a good offense. Sorry to tell you. So now, as of an hour ago, Awful Announcing is reporting that The Athletic is reportedly, quote, pressing for proof about Diana Rossini's explanation behind Mike Vrabel photos. So that kind of says what I said. They're asking her, okay, you said you were going hiking with your girlfriends. Where's some proof of that? Where are said girlfriends? You got a picture? Usually when girls go out, they take pictures of themselves. Isn't that a common thing? When they're out hiking or doing anything, really. So where are these girlfriends? So according to Awful Announcing, that's what's going on there. So we'll have to see how that plays out. Tampering charges for Vrabel and the Patriots? Maybe. But it also seems like A.J. Brown is certainly a goner and going to somebody, if not the Patriots, somewhere. Maybe maybe the NFL calls up Howie and is like, Howie, if you trade A.J. Brown to Vrabel, That would be kind of bad for the league. Could you maybe trade him somewhere else? Maybe that's where Mooj comes in. I don't know. On the other hand, Joe Douglas is working under Howie now, so there's also that. Iowa Jets, Gino's an experienced pro. Yep, Fields seems scared and over conservative. Yeah. Well, he wanted to prove that he could play quarterback, if you remember. Remember the quote from Aaron Glenn? We're going to let him play quarterback. That was, and I told you guys over and over, that was the scariest quote of the offseason last year because he's not a great quarterback. What he is a guy who can run RPOs like nobody's business, and we didn't run them enough because Fields, and it seems like we had a deal with the agent. Hey, if you come here, we'll let you play quarterback. We'll run some RPOs, but not a ton. Seems like that was the deal, and that was going to be bad. I broke down the entire offense and what we should do in the offseason last year, saying we should run 35, 40% RPOs. That's the thing that Fields can do really well. Well, we didn't. We ran about 15%, which is still high for the NFL, but still, you can't. He's not a pocket passer. He just is not. Just doesn't have that. And so we gave it a shot, and it failed. And that was the problem. He's never been that way. He's always been. You have to worry about these guys who are these big dudes who've always been incredible athletes. If you think about them coming up as children, right, and when they're little, the entire time Justin Fields' life, he was always been the best athlete on the field. Even by the time he got to Ohio State, he was still the best athlete on any field he steps on, right, with all these incredible athletes. So all that time when he's learning how to play football and what to do, he could just run. He could just run past everybody. And while that's wonderful to be a great athlete, what you're not doing is learning how to solve quarterback problems with your mind and your arm because you could just run and nobody can catch you. So it's hard to blame him. But at the same time, he just hadn't ever developed that skill of the quarterback brain, the quickness of brain, quarterback brain that you need. And if you're going to have that kind of guy, then you have to run a certain type of offense. And it seemed to me that he only agreed to come to our team because we promised him not to overdo it with the type of offense that you need to run for him to be successful, because he wanted to prove he could do the other thing. And he proved he can't. Now, that being said, maybe Andy Reid could figure out something with him. Who knows? But we couldn't, and he couldn't. And that was the end of it. And I told you that's the way it was going to be after watching the film. The answers are almost always on the film, guys. So that's why we're going to do Film Study Fridays from now on, because the answers are almost always on the film. The answers are almost always on the film. So every week we're going to pick out a new player. We're going to do a cut-up, and we'll take a look at the film. Just give us a competitive team, win or lose, Piali said. Yeah, well, yeah, I would agree. But I would prefer winning. We know Mooj likes a player swap. What would the Jets need to add to a Brees for Brown? They're not doing that. What are you, Phil? Wake up, Phil. They have Saquon Barkley. What do they want Brees Hall for? Wake up, Phil. Phil Adams. Philip. They're not doing, if they do anything, they're doing, like a second and a fourth for Brown. They're getting draft picks for 27, which is supposed to be a big draft. They don't want Brees Hall. What are they going to do? Sit him on the bench next to Saquon Barkley? That's dumb. No. What they're trading Brown for is picks. Pickety picks. So they can load up in the 27 draft. That's what they're doing, Philip. Crazy man. I'm tired of hearing Bailey is a safe pick. He is not. Agreed. He may not be a 3-down player. Or at least Reese will play 3 downs at some position every game. Agree. Bailey is not a safe. I mean, you got to think. I always think with these dudes, what is Deion Dawkins going to do with them? Deion Dawkins is sort of like our benchmark. Deion Dawkins would take David Bailey and throw him into the stands and say, "Get out of here, kid. Get out of here, child. These are men playing over here." He has no leg strength whatsoever. He's going to get thrown around like a rag doll by the strong and really good tackles. Now, does he have some cool pass rush moves? Yeah, cool moves, bro. But he's not strong enough. So I don't think he's a safe pick. Will he get some sacks? Yeah. He has a ghost move, he has a spin move. He's very well developed and he has a great first step. So he has some skills. So he's really a pass rush specialist. He's a third down only guy. If you leave him in on rundowns, he's going to get thrown around like a rag doll. So why would we do that? And I think if we sit at 2 and we take Bailey over, I mean, I would even rather have Bain over Bailey. Give me Reuben Bain, even with his short arms. I don't care. That dude's powerful, at least. If we sit there at 2 and we don't trade, now it's different if we trade back. But if we stay at 2 and we take Bailey, he's an okay player. He has one skill set, which we already have on the team in Will McDonald. But if we do that, I'll be very disappointed in the front office. It'll tell me the front office isn't as smart as we thought. Because if you're sitting at 2, you have to take Reese or Bain. If you don't want Reese for some reason, then take Bain, Reuben Bain. Reuben Bain has real man strength. He can move people around. When you move him at D tackle and take him away from D end because we're running a 3-4, you put him in the 4I or the 4. Now his short arms don't really matter that much because he's going up against guards and centers more than tackles, and they have shorter arms. So now he can throw those people around, which he does on a regular basis. So if you don't love Reese, which every person who's objective about this says Reese is the best player in the whole draft, but if you don't like him for some reason, then take Bain. I would respect it more if you just take Reuben Bain. At least be tough and strong. We need people who are strong and tough and can stand up to people like Deion Dawkins instead of getting thrown around like fake tough guy Michael Clemens. I'm going to show up shirtless with a baseball bat. Meanwhile, Deion Dawkins is throwing you around like a child. That's not good. And I always use Deion Dawkins as my threshold. He's in our division. He's very good and very strong. We're going to have to beat his ass at some point. And so if we can't do that, what are we taking you for? He's going to use his cool moves, bro, to get around him. Get out of here. He'll put your face in the damn dirt. When you try your ghost move, he'll just shove you down into the dirt. Cool ghost move, dude. And then he'll spit on you. Cool moves, dude. That worked in the Big 12, huh? That's what Deion Dawkins would say. That worked in the Big 12, huh? This ain't the Big 12, homie. You know? Brown end up in KC. Well, yeah, why not? I mean, they always seem to be needing a wide receiver in spite of the fact that they're always acquiring wide receivers, which is weird, but yeah. Why don't the Chiefs step up and get AJ Brown? You know, why is it mandatory that he goes to the Patriots? It just seems like from all the reporting, and now we know that reporting is tainted, but from a lot of the reporting, it's just like, oh yeah, AJ Brown's definitely going to the Patriots. Why doesn't he go to the Chiefs? Why not? They're going to need more firepower. Kelsey is going to retire after this year, almost certainly, and Mahomes is coming off of an injury. He's probably, who knows? He'll probably be the same, but nonetheless, he needs explosive playmakers. Seems like every year we're saying they need wide receivers, then they acquire a wide receiver or two or three, and then we say, oh, they're going to be so good this year. And then the next year we're saying they still need a wide receiver, though. It's kind of weird. But nonetheless, it's a good point. Why don't the Chiefs just get him? From the NFL's point of view, that would be a good story also. You know, a big player like A.J. Brown going to one of the top two television teams, if you get what I mean. The teams that draw the most ratings, it's the Cowboys and the Chiefs and then everybody else. So Brown to the Chiefs with Mahomes, now you have a big story. And now people are going to want to watch even more than they, ordinarily would with the Chiefs. They have face, right? So from all those points of view, it makes perfect sense. Why does he got to go to the Patriots? He likes Vrabel? I mean, Vrabel traded him. First of all, don't forget. I mean, you could say it was the GM, but Vrabel was sitting there and traded away A.J. Brown. People say he was pissed because he got up from the table or something, but I mean, A.J.'s got to look at it like, this guy got rid of me. Now, on the other hand, apparently Brown and Vrabel talk regularly and text all the time, which to me is kind of like tampering. Hello. But I also wonder about that. Don't you think these coaches and players are texting each other all the time on other teams? Is that tampering or not? If they're just saying, hey, great game, bro. Hey, congratulations on that win, coach. Is that tampering if coach responds? I don't know. It's an interesting question. Like, are you allowed to contact them but you can't talk about coming onto your team? You could talk about how your kids are doing, how the wife's doing, all that, but you can't talk about coming onto the team? Is that what we're talking about? Because that'd be hard to police. But yeah, the Chiefs or any number of teams that are competing. The Chargers, why can't he go to the Chargers? Put him with Justin Herbert. There's a good story. I mean, there's any number of teams that make a lot of sense. Put him with the Rams. Why don't the Rams get him? Devontae, Stafford, McVay, AJ, now Puka. Oh my God, what a super team. Wow, watch this team on television, everybody. Well, put him on the Rams. Why not? No, Howie's not going to trade him in the NFC probably, but still, there's plenty of options. Trade him to the Jets. We'll take him. We need more people reading on the sidelines. Instead of what Michael Clemens was doing, cursing people out. Boss girl, I would imagine A.G. Dunbar bowling Duker salivating over Reese. Well, we don't know. We can imagine. I would think so. People say they won't take him because they can't develop, and as if the coaches think that way, projecting SOJ on new regime. Plus, there's not a lot to project. He's damn good now. He's only going to get better later. I mean, he already worked with Matt Patricia, so he's already worked with a pro defensive coordinator. So it's not like he can't. And plus, the thing is that Patricia used him all over the place because of his brain also. Because he could. Like, people are treating it like a negative because he did a lot of stuff at Ohio State. The only reason he did all those stuffs is because he could handle the mental load of it, which is a plus. It's ridiculous. Oh, this versatility, we don't know where to play him. Yes, we do. We know exactly where to play him. It's called outside linebacker in a 3-4 scheme. Alex Highsmith, TJ Watt are linebackers. That's where you're playing him. Sometimes they rush, sometimes they spot drop, sometimes they play the run, sometimes they do different things. It's called a 3-4 defense. And so, like, people don't even understand. It's Alex Highsmith and TJ Watt. That's who it is. TJ Watt is a linebacker, technically. And sometimes, not a lot, but sometimes he's spot dropping and covering people in coverage. And that's what you do with this kid. It's not hard. You just put him out there and you tell him, It's not difficult. He can do whatever you ask of him. How do you know that, Frankie? Because that's what happened at Ohio State with Matt Patricia. He was spot dropping. He was in the middle. He was in the side. He was doing it all. Well, that just means he not as developed. Well, he also wasn't playing in the Big 12. If you put Arvell Reese in the Big 12, he would have had 30 sacks. And people don't really understand that. Texas Tech is the crown jewel of the Big 12. They have the most talented team. They have the most money. They have money out the wazoo. They're going to win the Big 12 every single year, unless something drastic goes wrong. So he was on the best team. So his teammates, Lee Hunter, who came from UCF, by the way, it's another long story I'll tell you about. The general manager's office here is still pissed about Lee Hunter. I can tell you a story about that. But where was I going? Oh, so he's on this great team with all these incredible players that they can pay for. That's part of the story. And he's playing in the Big 12, which is a massive, massive drop from the Big 10 or the SEC. You put Arvell Reese in the Big 12, he would have had 30 sacks. Are you crazy? And if you made him rush as much as Bailey did, because that's all Bailey did. Meanwhile, Matt Patricia had this kid running around doing everything because he could. And that's a plus. In the modern day NFL, and this is the thing. Like if AG and Mooj and the coaches don't understand what a valuable weapon Arvell Reese is, then I am extremely disappointed by them, and I have very low expectations for them understanding how to do anything because they don't understand how modern defenses need to work. You can't have this old school mentality of just do the simple thing and just have a simple defense and you're just going to beat everybody because you're going to have all pros at all levels at all times. No. Offenses are too smart these days. Everybody has film immediately. We have film. We've been doing film study here on this channel. So if we could do film study, everybody's doing it every minute of every day. And if all you do is simple stuff, they're going to figure out your stupid simple stuff and kill you. So you need a defense that can actually be hybrid and multiple, which AG has spoken about. So let's hope it's not just words. But also, if you get Reese, that's the exact type of guy you need to be hybrid and multiple. That's exactly the type of guy because he can do all those things. He can be on the outside. He can play linebacker if you need him to. He can cover the flat. He can rush the passer. He's great against the run. He can set the edge. He can do whatever you need him to do. He can chase down Josh Allen with his 4.46 speed. Now he can chase down Drake May, these mobile quarterbacks, Malik Willis. You need a fast, strong motherfucker like this kid who can do everything and not be thrown out of the club by the offensive lineman. He needs to be tossing offensive linemen, not the other way around. And do all the things that you need him to do, which you should see on tape that he can do, and that should be a plus, not a minus. So I don't get it either. It makes no sense. Now, if we trade back and we get a bunch of other stuff, and then we have to get Bailey because he's the best guy on the board, all right, then we got a pass rusher. Okay. Got a guy who could do one thing. All right. But you say, okay, but we made this trade and we got all this other stuff and that's better for the team because we did a trade back. Okay. Then I could buy it. But if we're sticking at 2, I mean, if you want to stick at 2, really, you should take Reese. Okay, you don't want Reese because of some reason. Then you should take Bain, but you don't like Bain's arm length. All right. Then you should take Sonny Styles, actually. If you're going to sit there and say you don't like Bain's arm length and you don't like Reese's versatility for some reason, the guy to take is Sonny Styles, actually. Not frickin' Bailey. Bailey's really good at one thing. He's a one-trick pony. He's basically Bryce Huff. That's what he is. you really want to know. So, and plus, we already have Will McDonald, who's a kind of like Bryce Huff was in a way, a little bit more because he has a little bit better size, but still, we already have that. So if you don't want Reese, you're not sure about him, then you should be talking about Bane or Sonny Styles, really, not Bailey. So I don't know. Hopefully, it's all smoke. Now, the way to think about it is maybe this is smoke because they want Salah to salivate over Bailey. Because think about Robert Salah's defense is completely different than what we think we're going to run this year. What we think we're going to run this year. Salah has a 4-3 wide 9, as we all know. But in that, the Gus Bradley configuration, which is the Robert Saleh configuration, has a big end and a fast end. That's the two ends he needs. Well, guess what? He already has the big end. He signed John Franklin Myers. That's his old buddy, and that's his big end. You need a big end on one side and a sleek, fast one on the other. Well, guess who's a sleek, fast one? Bailey, right? So maybe what the Jets are doing, knowing all this, hopefully they're playing 4D chess. Let's go, Muji. If I could figure this out, you should figure it out. So we put up a bunch of smoke like, oh, yeah, it looks like a fait accompli. The Jets really, really want Bailey at 2. Well, then old Robert Saleh goes to Borganzi and says, listen, Borganzi, we got to go to 2. We need Bailey. Make a trade. Because, you know, Saleh has the juice in that organization. It's not Borganzi. It's Saleh. So so maybe that is what we're trying to do. Go back to 4, get a bunch of stuff from the Titans, obviously, and still get Reese. Now if that happens, whoo, then Muji's cooking with gas, man, because who knows what else they're going to give us to go just 2 spots. And then you could look at it. Maybe we look at it like, listen, what we really want is Reese or Bane. Maybe they're looking at it like that. And they go, so that way, if we can make this trade, we can't lose because no matter what the Cardinals do, we still get one of our guys. You know, our bucket is Bane and Reese, right? Is one theory. So if we could get the Titans to really think that we're going for Bailey, then they make a trade with us, and then we get one of our 2 guys, whichever one is on the board that the Cardinals don't pick, or if they pick someone entirely different. And then there you go. And then that would be very smart. But if we just stick at 2 and take Bailey, I'm going to be very disappointed. I'll just put it that way. I'll be happy we have a pass rusher. I'll say, oh, great, we have another Will McDonald. This way, in case we lose our first Will McDonald, we have a second Will McDonald on hand. Oh, good. Resiliency, you see. So it won't be terrible, but you know, I'll be disappointed because of who else is available. I really like Reese and Bane and Styles, of course. And Bailey's just like, all right, he's fine. He'll rack up sacks. He will. The problem for the Jets is if we're down 30-0 because we couldn't stop the run, and then it's the fourth quarter and Bailey's picking up a couple of sacks when we're down 30-0. That's not really helpful. so I don't know. I don't know, man. Everyone says I don't even want to trade back from 2. Just take Reese, unless it's Godfrey. Well, you got to see what the offer is. Friggle D is here. Look at Friggle D. How long's it been, Friggle D? They covet Styles or Tate. Well, if they do, I'm sure they like both of those players, Friggle D. It's just a matter of where do you take them. Like if one of them was available at 16, they would run the card in, of course. Just checking the wires here. In case you missed it, some sad news earlier from today. Browning Nagel passed away. Uh, he passed away from cancer. He had colon cancer and passed away at age 57. So that's some sad news today. He was our starting quarterback in 1992 and didn't do very well, unfortunately. So I'm just checking to see. Now, it'll be an interesting week, I guess, coming up to see. Some of these dominoes are starting to fall. Dontavian Wicks gets traded. Some of these free agents have signed that we could have been interested in at the wide receiver position. So does Muji have something else up his sleeve is really the question. Jefe says, how's it even possible that Salah has the juice? Do you worry that the Cardinals could take Reese? Yeah, I would be worried about that. But if you have Bain and Reese fairly equal, now if you have Reese way above Bain and you just want Reese, then you just sit there and take him. But it depends on how closely you have Bain and Reese, for example. Maybe you have them graded out the same and you don't care which one you get. If that's the case, then you really want to trade. But if it's not the case, then you don't. But I think Salah does have the juice. Remember who the owner is, okay? And remember how it was a really kind of a weird interview process where Salah just sort of quickly got hired. And if you know what I'm talking about, you'll know what I'm talking about. I think Salah, because the thing you have to understand about Robert Salah is that he's a charmer. He's a politician. Everybody knows this in the league. This is well known. He's a charmer. He's a politician. He makes you feel special. He gives you all the feelings. If I met him, I'd want to be his best friend in the world. If you met him, Hefe, you'd probably want to, maybe get like Diana Rossini is with Vrabel, probably. But he's very charming, and he's also handsome and muscular and tall. And he has a certain way with the opposite sex. And it just so happens the owner of the Titans happens to be of the opposite sex. So I think she took one look at this man and interacted with him for 10 minutes and was like, Borganzi, you're hiring him immediately, right? And Borganzi was like, right. So I think with his politician ways, he's a politician. I think that's what Woody got tired of. Because don't forget, politicians eventually wear on your nerves and you want to kick their teeth in. And I think that's what one of the things that probably happened within the Jets. Also, Salah was in over his head. Remember the story about him taking everybody's cell phones. So he was also in way over his head and he didn't know how to handle the media. There was a lot going on. But I think one of the things, Woody, who didn't hire him, Christopher did, Woody, I think, finally got tired of his political ways. Eventually, a lot of people get tired of that. This guy with his bullshit, this guy with his glad handing, look at this guy with his brown nosing, Eventually people catch on and are like, this guy's a shithead. Fuck this politician. But as for right now, I think Salah's running that organization. And look at all the people he has signed for his roster. It's everybody who's ever coached. That tells you right there. There's the juice. The decision tree for the Tennessee front office is, did Robert Saleh coach them? Yes, sign them. No, don't sign them. That's the decision tree. They got a big picture in their office on big poster board. Should we sign player X? Did Robert Saleh coach them ever in his coaching history? Yes, sign. No, don't sign. That's how they do it. They signed Michael Carter. I mean, geez. Surprised they're not signing Tech McGinn. What was that guy's name? Tech something? Well, anyways. And then and then for the offense, they give Dable some of his guys, just to so that shows you that my theory is correct based on actions. It's just Salah signing all the guys that he ever coached that he could get his hands on. You think what is Borgonzi doing? Hey, Robert. We have this whole front office staff here, and we got to build this roster. Oh yeah, we got to build the roster. Okay. Well, I'm sure you want us to go out and find all of the best players we can find who are going to be free agents, or that maybe we can make trades so we can stock the roster in the best way possible. And Salah's like, no, we don't want to do that. Then Borgonzi's like, what? What do you mean? We got this front office staff. We got a lot of people here. We have pro scouts. We got college scouts. We're going to find the best players that are going to fit your system. It's going to be great. Salah's like, no. Listen, fellas. This is a lot easier than you think. They're like, oh, it is? Yeah. All you got to do is have a decision tree. Did I coach them before? And if it's a yes, then you signed them. And if it's a no, forget about it. And Borgonzi's like, but that's not going to work. Oh, it'll work fine. Don't you worry. And then Borgonzi tries to complain to Amy Adams shrunk. And Amy Adams is like, Borgonzi, I told you, Salah gets what Salah wants. And Borgonzi's like, oh, what did I sign up for? Oh, should have never left Kansas City. Womp womp. So that's what's going on in Tennessee. And so that being the case, that feeds into, then all of this makes sense. All of the Jets. So then it would be totally logical that 3 national reporters have come out with this Bailey thing all at the same time, all using the same exact words, by the way, because the Jets figured out, looking at their roster, the Titans roster, what type of player that Salah would want in his scheme. And Bailey fits that perfectly. Fits that to a T. Because you need the small, quick end in this Gus Bradley configuration. If you have the big end, which they do with JFM now there. So there you go. And even if he doesn't have the juice like I think he does, and even if I'm overplaying it, still the GM has to give the head coach players that fit the system, even if it's just as simple as that. So Borgonzi and Salah would want a player like Bailey because that's what Salah needs for his system to work. He needs a Bryce Huff, Will McDonald. He needs the little end that's quick. That's what he needs. So, sure, you could sit there or you could get cute and try to really, because the Cardinals are a wild card. They could do anything. They need offensive line. They need defense. They need a lot of things. So, the consensus is they're taking Maui Noah. Some people think they could take Simpson there. I've seen that. If I were them, I would take the best offensive lineman I could, but I'm not them. They might just say, well, let's BPA it because we suck anyway. If they BPA it, then yeah, they'll take Reese. But as long as we're good taking Bain or Styles or somebody, not Love, then that could work. Hefe, I'm all about positional value, but would rather Styles over Bailey Bain. Also warming up to trading up from 16 if Downs there at 10. Then trade back 33 to recoup picks. Better to total all the players. Yeah, maybe. But then you don't know if you can trade back from 33. So you're making one trade, hoping you can make another trade. But I wouldn't mind it. If you wanted to move up and get Downs, I got no problem. But I love Bain. A lot of people are going to focus on his arm length, but if he's a D tackle, it's not as big of a deal, and he's so good. I don't know if you guys understand how good Ruben Bain is. He's so good, man. And he's a grown man. He fits my thing that I want us to become tougher and stronger on the defense. I love Ruben Bain. He's so good, man. But I'd rather have Reese because he can do more. And so to me, they stack up Reese, Bain, then a drop, and then Bailey. But, I don't know. I don't know how the Jets are going to stack them up. But if you have it like Reese, big drop, then Bain, big drop, then Bailey, then just stay at 2 and take Reese. I mean, just keep it simple. That's really what we should do. Again, unless we really understand, I mean, unless we know what the hell the Cardinals are going to do at 3, which I don't know how we would know what they're going to do at 3. I mean, for example, if somehow you got some intel, reliable, that you knew for sure they were going to take Maui Noah, you knew 100% for sure, there's no doubt they're taking him. They love him. They need offensive line. That's what they're going to build it up so that when they get the young quarterback in 27, then they'll have a line, they'll have a defense, they'll have everything. That's the plan. All right, and so it's got to start with the O-line. Sometimes those guys take a minute to develop, so let's get Maui Noah in there and let's. Well, then you can make a trade all day if you knew the Titans also were going to take Bailey. Then sure, make the trade. The best thing would be trade, get a bunch of stuff, and then get Reese anyway. That would be the best. Is it going to happen? I don't know. That's why you got to find out. We'll be live during the draft all 3 days. I added a third day. We're now going to be live on day 3 as well. That day, we'll just kind of be chit-chatting and kind of like glancing at the picks because they're going to be coming in fast and furious. But we're going to have 3 days of live coverage of the draft, so I hope you'll join me. We'll have it on live. You'll see the live reactions and analysis of whatever it is that happens. It's going to be very exciting. Less than 2 weeks away on this very channel. We're not all that either. I don't. If you met Robert Saleh, Hefe, this man's very charming. I mean, he would charm me into being a best friend of his. I'd be like, I love Bobby Salads. He's a charming guy. Haven't you met charming people? And he also happens to be handsome and tall and muscular. Well, what more do the women look for, the women folk? He's everything you ever wanted. Charming, tall, dark, and handsome, and muscular. I mean, the man has like 7 or 8 children. He can't stop stooping his wife, this guy. News Taglia RC. Greetings from Ulaanbaatar. Okay. Hello. Happy to see you. Friggle D. Yeah. Now, people who don't know, Friggle D, even though he has kind of a funny screen name here, he's a longtime commenter going back to the Green Bean days. Okay? For those who don't know, I used to be on the Green Bean channel all the time. Thursday Thick of It. We had it going. That was nice for a while there. And, Friggle D would hang out and be in the comments. He's like an OG in the comments section over here. But it's been a long time since he's been on the Frankie channel. Why it is that it took so long for him to come back to the Frankie channel, I don't know. You'll have to ask Friggle D. But don't let the screen name fool you. Friggle D is a long-time OG commenter. Jojo says, Bane's strength makes up for his arm length. Yes. Very powerful. Especially if you're playing him inside as a DT. Think about it. The reason it matters so much is because the tackles, offensive tackles, they tend to have long arms and they can get out and lock you out and control you, right? Well, the centers and the guards have shorter arms because they're shorter people. They're smaller, slightly smaller people. So if you're going up against guards and centers, because now you're a DT as a 4-eye or a 3-tech or whatever it may be, the arm length isn't as much of a problem as it is if you are a 4-3 defensive end, see? So we're playing 3-4 anyway. He's going to have to two gap, and he can do it very well. Ruben Bain can do whatever you want him to do. He's also kind of a guy who's obsessed with football as well, and Reese is this way too. So I kind of like that about him. He's sort of like a football maniac. I like Bain so much, but I saw something today that Bain is sliding, falling down the boards. What if we traded up for Bain? What if we got Reese and Bain? Holy smokes. That would be something. Oh, man can dream. I just want people who are going to fuck people up. That's all I want. Why is that so wrong? I just want people who are killers on defense. That's it. That's all. Is that so difficult? Why can't we have like a group of wild dog killers? Is that too much to ask? Yeah. That's all we need. That's all we want. Are you a wild dog killer? Oh, yeah. Okay, you can join. Are you a wild dog killer? Well, I'm not sure. Get out of here. I mean, we have to play against real men. Like Josh Allen. Josh Allen would throw freaking David Bailey off the field. Get out of here with a stiff arm or something. You think Bailey's going to do anything against Josh Allen? Get out of here. We need real men with real strength. Play powder puff pink pussy football. This isn't the powder puff league. This is not the pink lady raiders. Pew pew. If you know anything about Texas Tech, you would think that's funny. Jefe says, I look at Salah's record. You left out rich, but I can't be bought. Well, he's also rich. He also fits that bill. How much do you think they're paying him? We paid him $5 million a year for 4 years. That's $20 million in the bank. How much? He's probably making 10 down there. But I'm just telling you, he's very charming. That's the main thing. People respond to people's energy, and you ever met a charming person? Somebody just has that, magical charm he's like that. That's why he's a very good politician. If he ever wanted to actually go into actual politics, he would be very good at it. Phil says, Friggle is our man from Brick. Jefe says, in free agency, foundation of defense built, and now we have to draft impact players to drop into defense. Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking about this is if we take quarterback out of the equation in the first, for the first 4 picks, those first 4 picks are really the whole draft. Well, shouldn't say that, but those first 4 picks are very, very, very important for our future. And 3 of them could be defense. I think pick 16 has to be designated wide receiver by Mooj because, he's just not moving on this wide receiver market at all. And even if he makes one move, like let's say we trade for BTJ, well, if we trade for BTJ, then probably one of the 4 picks is in the trade. So then we'll probably have 3 picks. And in that case, all 3 could be defense because we'll have BTJ. And then maybe we'll try to get somebody in that 4th round, But if we don't make any trades, really it could be 1 wide receiver and 3 defensive players, and they all need to be impact players. Like it could be Reese, wide receiver, Caden McDonald, which would be awesome, and then AJ Halsey or EMW or the kid out of Pittsburgh, actually. I was looking at him, Lewis. Very interesting player. Do you guys know this kid? Let's check something out. This guy is of super importance to us. I did not realize we had a guy. In this draft, where he's listed at, he's a safety linebacker hybrid. Why is this popping up? Crap. Hang on. But he's out of Pittsburgh, and he's from New Jersey. This is the point. Hang on. Talks amongst yourselves. Let's pull this up here. I got to check this guy out anyways. Safeties. Not Lou Moore. Well, they must have him as a linebacker then. So he's a linebacker safety hybrid. Played the star position for Coach Doozy. Kyle Lewis. Well, they rank him as the seventh best linebacker behind Styles Rodriguez, C.J. Allen, Jake Golday, Anthony Hill, Jeremiah Trotter, and then him. They project him for the third round. We don't have a third round pick. So pick 44 could be the spot for him. He's a very interesting dude, versatile as hell. I like versatility as opposed to some people who do not, like most dummies. All right, wait a minute. I mean, this guy played the star position. That's usually a small guy. This dude is 5'11 and 7/8. That's kind of small-ish. But if you have him as a safety hybrid, that's okay. 220 pounds. So let's take a look. This is from The Beast. And if you're a member of the Inner Circle, you already have access to The Beast for free from me. But here he is. Kyle Lewis is 22 years old. But he grew up in East Orange, New Jersey. You familiar with that place? I mean, he went to East Orange Campus High School in Essex County. So this guy is right from our backyard. He ran a 4.5 40 and good explosiveness. Overall, Lewis is a difficult evaluation because he isn't a traditional linebacker, but he brings value to the field with his range, instincts, and man coverage upside. So he can play linebacker, he can play safety, he can play man coverage. With his size, that means he can cover tight ends, running backs. He can green dog your running back like a motherfucker. Although he won't be a fit for every scheme, he has a chance to shine for an NFL team with the right vision for his talent. See, he played star linebacker to the field side. See ball, get ball hunter. Quick to trigger. Nose for the ball. Explosive closing speed. You like these things? This is a very interesting dude. And on top of it all, he's in our backyard going to Pitt and grew up in New Jersey. I mean, come on. So this is a guy we should keep our eye on, especially if he slips. If he goes into the fourth round, because people don't like his I don't know where to play him. Well, that means you're a bad coach, motherfucker, because this guy has some versatility. He can cover in man coverage. He can play in the box. What? Yeah, give me guys like this all day. If you're a good coach, if you're a shitty coach, no, yeah, he's not going to work for you. But if we pick a guy like this, I would be very excited, but probably only if he slips to like the fourth round. But yeah, so that's the type of dude we got to start looking at things and saying, okay, how are we going to use this guy? How can he help us? This guy seems like a Jalen Petrie type to me. So I agree. 16 minutes to splashdown. No, I got it as. Wait a minute. Yeah, they're supposed to splash down. Maybe I have to refresh this page. Well, they got it as 11 minutes. Holy cow. Let's take a look at this. Eddie Hunt says, this is great real time scouting, and I thank you. You're welcome, Eddie. Now we're going to look at this. These astronauts are flying in at 25,000 miles per hour. 25,000 miles per hour. They're 28 miles from Earth. Holy cow. They're going to splash down in 10 minutes. Let's stay on line. You guys want to? Well, we're now transferring FSPN coverage to the NASA Artemis 2 moon mission. In 10 minutes, the astronauts are scheduled to splash down. They're currently making their final descent in the Integrity capsule. On the left, you see Mission Control in Houston. On the right is the chat. Not our chat, but the YouTube chat for this channel here. It's called Spaceflight Now. Subscribe to the Spaceflight Now channel if you want more NASA cool space stuff. Mission Control seems to be not nervous. G-force is now 1,000, according to the chat. These must be nervous moments. So what this means, I think, is that they must have gone through the heat shield part. Although maybe they're still going through it now. They're traveling at looks like 14,000 miles an hour, decelerating. 9 minutes to go, under 9 minutes remaining. Somebody in the chat asked about birds. That's weird. Somebody says, looking good. I saw one smile. Yeah, if you look at these people at Mission Control that they're showing on the right side of the screen here, these people are in charge of talking to the astronauts and, they're basically in charge of the mission. So if you see them be happy, then, things are looking good. People in the chat are saying the Navy Helios have a visual, meaning they can see the capsule. It's 8 minutes and 10 seconds. It's traveling at about 13,000 miles per hour at the moment. Imagine 13,000 miles per hour. Did Rossini get footage of that rocket? Only if Mike Vrabel's on it, apparently. Seven minutes and 43 seconds to splash down. Some people in the chat are saying Netflix, NASA reported multiple planes and I guess that means helicopter, have visual, meaning they see it. Oh, apparently there's a sort of a blackout. We don't know what that image is. Now you're seeing mission control. Well, apparently that's them. Obviously, some of the video transmission having a little bit of trouble. There's a comm check. They have them loud and clear. Recovery teams have visual. Everything looks good. Whoa, this is incredible. So there's a lot of people in the chat that are crying, saying thank you, Jesus. I think the idea is that it looks like everything is going according to plan. There's 5 minutes left to capsule splashdown. They still do have to stick the landing. I don't know what she just said. Well, this is pretty nerve-wracking, I'd have to say. It's 4 minutes left until capsule splashdown. It looks like the parachute has deployed, though I don't know. Oh, that's the capsule. So we need the parachutes to deploy. Looks like the parachutes are deploying. Holy smokes. The chutes are deployed. The capsule is 3 minutes to splashdown. These are not the same parachutes that I used jumping out of airplanes, I'll tell you that much. Under 3 minutes to go. Whoa. 2.5 minutes to splashdown. Holy crap. Now they've deployed different parachutes. This whole thing is so complicated. Holy cow. That's amazing. 3 good mains. 3 good mains. They got 3 good main parachutes. This is awesome. Look at that, man. That's incredible. Look at that image. Well, it says 45 seconds, so we're under a minute now until capsule splash down as these amazing astronauts are coming back from their journey around the moon. The parachutes have deployed. We're under half a minute until splashdown. They seem to be firing off some thrusters of some kind. Well, they're a little off time wise by a few seconds, but who's counting, really? That's an amazing image right there. They splash down. They splash down. It's amazing. Amazing. Incredible. These astronauts have gone around the moon and returned to Earth, hopefully safely. They've splashed down in the Pacific Ocean off the coast of California. The parachutes have fallen off the capsule, and it looks like the capsule is floating on top of the sea. So, seems like a victory to me. An incredible historical moment here on FSPN. We captured it all. What an amazing feat and accomplishment for humanity. We can slingshot people around the moon and come back. Incredible history being made right here live on FSPN. Who doesn't love a little extra space mission live on the FSPN channel? It'd be nice if they did some communication so we know they're okay. Though people at Mission Control don't seem too worried or too excited either. Guess now they have to wait for the rescue divers. They did a comms check. They did a comms check. Seems like everything's okay. Incredible, incredible historic moment as NASA has done it. Somehow, some way, even with a Canadian on board. Unbelievable. They made it into space, around the moon, and back in 10 days. Incredible, never been done before. They made it through the heat shield thing that might throw them off, and they were able to land right in the ocean, right on time. And they did a final comm check just now, and seems like everything's good to go. Now they have to get the rescue divers out there, get them onto a boat, get them out of the capsule. It's just an incredible historic moment for space travel. Maybe it is true that we will be able to establish a moon base within the next year or two, and then uh, actually have people living on the moon by the time it gets to be 2036 in about 10 years' time. And then beyond that, maybe 15 years later, we could establish a colony on Mars. So it's really exciting times in space flight, really exciting times for science fiction fans who read about stories, like this. And now it's sort of all happening. It's incredible. Whoa. Oh, there it goes. What an incredible moment. Textbook landing, they're calling it. Wow. So apparently the Navy now has to go get them. There's some issue with some of the comms signaling so that the Navy knows exactly where they are in the ocean. Let's hope they figure that out. It would be kind of crazy to go all that way and then have a problem when you're in the Pacific Ocean. But nonetheless, I hope they're able to work this out. So Boss Girl says, what happens first? We establish a colony on the moon or the Jets win the Super Bowl? Well, we're going to have a colony on the moon by 2036. So that's 10 years' time. So I'm going to say the Jets will win a Super Bowl before that. But then again, I'm an optimist, you know. So, Seeing Go says space and the New York Jets. Yeah. Well, this was a historic moment in humanity. So we switched over to it from our chatting about the NFL draft. We switched over to see the Artemis 2. Some people may not understand who Artemis is and why it's named that. The first time we did the moon stuff, we called it Apollo. Apollo is the Greek god of the sun. And Artemis is the Greek goddess of the moon. So since we were going around the moon this time, we called it Artemis because she was the twin sister of Apollo, who was the Greek goddess of the moon. So that's why it's called Artemis. They always name them after these Greek gods and goddesses because we Greeks, we had the best gods. Let's be honest. Let's be honest. James T. Kirk was about the American I saw in color. I don't know what that means. Chris is here. Yeah, please like and support the channel. Right now, uh, we are taking a look at this space landing, taking a little break from the Jets coverage to cover a historic moment in human history as NASA's Artemis 2 moon mission is coming to a conclusion. The capsule has landed safely, and now it's. So they're trying to get a signal to the Navy so that the Navy rescue divers and boats and ships and whatever they're going to do to get them can come and get these astronauts out of this capsule, which I'm sure they're very anxious to get the hell out of. Once that happens, then we'll know for sure that this mission is completed. But we're keeping it here for coverage of this historic moment in human history, since in this mission we sent 4 astronauts in a spaceship around the moon and back. We actually went into the moon's gravitational pull, went around the moon, and then used the gravitational push to push us back toward Earth. It was an incredible feat of engineering and human ingenuity. Um, and so now, but the idea is that this was sort of a prelude to the next moon mission where we will start to establish a permanent base. And so it seems like everything went pretty much as planned in terms of getting people up there and back safely. In other words, the heat shield worked and the parachutes all worked and all like that. Everything like that worked just fine. So that's the good news is that, and so uh, this mission was really a prelude to that, to getting people onto the moon. So right now they're trying to work out the communications. Oh, and there you see a boat quite near. So perhaps so it's looking like they have found them. There's some sort of water uh, craft near them, and then there seems to be a larger boat somewhat nearby. Some people in San Diego are reporting that they did not hear a sonic boom, which was one of the things that could happen. So that's even better news. There was no sonic boom. So that's good. The weird thing is they're making all these calls, and like a there's like a boat right next to the thing. So they're just sorting out the communications issues now. The weird thing is they got boats all around the capsule. The capsule probably doesn't even know they're there because the comms are down. It's like, hey, open the door, everyone. We got a procedure. It does look weird. It looks weird because seem proper. Well, we have all these assets around the capsule, but the capsule's having communications issues. Uh, why doesn't Houston just tell them, hey, there's boats around you, dummies? Well, I guess they have procedures they have to follow. They're saying in the chat we have to wait until T plus 30 for some reason. So that'd be 15 minutes from now. So Bradigan wants to know what's going on here. Bradigan, this is a big moment in human history. We're watching NASA's Artemis 2 moon mission, which has essentially concluded. We're looking at the capsule out in the sea, which has landed from space, Bradigan. We shot astronauts on a spaceship around the moon, Bradigan. And they made it around there and came all the way back. And there it is. And as of right now, they're trying to get their communications in line so that they can be essentially rescued out of this capsule that's in the sea. These are 4 heroic astronauts who have spent 10 days in space. You understand? They didn't go out to Publix. They didn't go down the block. They went around the moon in space, Bradigan. You understand? And they made it all the way back safely. And now they're in the ocean. I was talking to my mom. It's Friday. Yeah. Matthias Simon is here as well. We're watching one of the biggest human events of all time, uh, as this mission to the moon has essentially concluded. The astronauts are back here on Earth. This is the Pacific Ocean out here. The Navy is surrounding the vessel, but there's certain procedures, I guess, that they have to follow. I don't know how it works because I'm not an engineer or scientist. But we're watching with bated breath as we want these astronauts to be safe and get out of there and be, safe and sound. And right now they have this last part of the mission, which is to get out of this dang capsule. It looks like we're going to have to wait until T plus 30. You see the count up now in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. Looks like it's the chat on here, which some of these people are experts over here, are saying we got to wait till T plus 30 for some reason. And they're interviewing, looks like Jared Isaacman, the administrator of NASA. He's the head boss man. And so hopefully everything will be all right. They got boats out there, multiple, so that's not a problem. I think it's just a matter of the procedures that they have to do it safely. Remember, these people were just in space for 10 days, so their bodies, their brains, are all not exactly hunky-dory, so they probably have to do some procedural things to make sure that they can get out safely without injuring themselves. And there's the capsule right there, as you can see. So that's what's going on. Welcome to the new Frankie Space Channel. Yeah, FSPN, Frankie Space Programming Network. We can change it anytime we want. I mean, this is a... Why does this keep popping up? This is a momentous moment. Maybe shouldn't be. Yeah, you should never be late, Bradigan. You should always be on time for everything. What are you talking about? But because this was such a big moment in human history, we switched over from our talking about the draft and Jets nonsense to actually talk about something that's actually quite important. Because in case you folks didn't know, 2 weeks ago, NASA put out a very ambitious plan, which included this mission, but then also this is going to be a prelude to what we do next, which is we're going to establish a permanent base on the moon. That permanent base on the moon is going to do lots of things, but what it is mostly going to do is provide a sort of anchoring point so that we can then establish a base on Mars. And there will be a permanent colony on Mars where people will go and live, believe it or not, by 2050. So the permanent base on the moon will be fully functional according to this plan by 2036, which is just 10 short years away. So all of this is in the works, but we needed this mission to be successful so that we could know that all the things that we think are going to work would actually work. And so it was actually very dangerous for these astronauts, even though if you saw some of the live streams, it didn't seem so to us. But all of the things that we just witnessed, all of the coming back into the atmosphere when everything was going 17,000 and 20,000 miles per hour and all this, that was all very dangerous. Anything could have gone wrong at any time. And thankfully, it looks like it didn't. They've established communications with the capsule. And so now it's just a matter of them doing whatever procedures that they need to do to get them safely out of there. And then it will be considered a 100% successful mission. So that's why we're doing space coverage at the moment instead of Jets jibber jabber. So that's what we're doing. We're just keeping an eye on this. We want these astronauts to get out of that capsule safely, and that'll basically conclude the mission. Now there's going to be lots of learnings, and they're going to they're scientists, so they're going to have to come and share the science that they did with all the other scientists here on Earth, and so um, all of those learnings will be incorporated into future missions. But the reason this is important is because it's the prelude to really very ambitious plans for the moon, and then eventually by 2050, Mars. It's all very interesting. Now, I personally would not like to live in Mars. Tell me in the chat, would you want to go live on Mars? Me personally, I would have to say no for me. I'd look around and say, where's DoorDash? They'd be like, this is Mars, sir. You're not getting DoorDash here. I'd be like, but I want DoorDash. And they would say, no, you can't have it because this is not Earth, sir. This is Mars. And I'd be like, I want out of here. Once you make the decision that you're going to live on Mars, by the way, there's no coming back. So it's a one-way trip. All of this is some of the things that we're going to be doing both on the moon and on Mars. Robots have to be sent there first to set everything up and make it hospitable for the humans. But if you make a decision, I'm going to go live on Mars, once you get on that spaceship, there's no turning back. So there's none of this, I want to go back home, I'm homesick for Earth. Nope, you're on Mars for the rest of your life, so you better be ready. So let me know in the chat if you'd like to live on Mars. I don't think Frankie's going to Mars. I'll just watch the feeds. Thank you very much. I'll watch the live feeds. Yeah. Bruno says Darren Moji's trying to see if he can find a franchise quarterback on Mars. How about that? Yeah, we need a franchise quarterback. Maybe he's on the moon somewhere. Huh? He's hiding. Yeah, we found a Martian. Can we get him to play at MetLife? How about that? Only way we're beating Josh Allen is if we find a Martian quarterback, get him into MetLife Stadium, and, do it like that, because can't do it normal. We all know that. Bradigan says, I don't even like Mars candy bars, so that's a no for me. Well, did you watch any videos about what it's going to be like on Mars, Bradigan? You got to watch the videos. Maybe you'd like it. You don't even, first of all, the robots are going to go there first and make it hospitable. There's going to be all sorts of stuff waiting for you by the time you get there, set up by the robots. Now, the chat over here is not being especially helpful in terms of explaining what's going on. There's no real comms going on as far as being broadcast on here. You grow a few inches taller on Mars. Well, yeah, the gravitational pull is less, but also you obviously cannot be out in the atmosphere. So one of the things that the robots do, they set up the roads. Yes, there does need to be roads. Where we're going, we don't need roads. Well, yes, actually, on Mars you do need roads. So they have to build roads. Then they have to build buildings and things, structures and energy. They have to set up all these solar panels to capture energy, so you can have energy, and then all this stuff. But you can't go outside. There's no going outside. You're always inside of these structures that have to be built in a certain way to withstand all of the heat and radiation and I don't know, all the other stuff in space. So it's very, very different. But before you decide whether you want to be on Mars, you should watch some of these videos about what we're going to build there. You know, you might like it. I mean, the problem is there's not going to be any pizzerias. You know, the food's going to be like basic. It'd probably be tasty food though, because it'd be fresh. You know, like you're going to get fresh veggies. You know what I mean? But you're not going to get a nice slice of pizza on Mars. No, I don't think so. You're not going to get. How are you going to get a bagel? You know what I mean? How are you going to get some bagels and lox and stuff? You could eat some carrots, fine. But also, what are you going to do on Mars? Like, there's no movie theaters. There's no football. There's no sports at all. What the hell are you going to do all day? You know, your life is basically like conducting research. I think scientists are going to go there. So there's all sorts of ships and vessels and helicopters and all sorts of things around the capsule now. So people know where they are. I don't know exactly what's going on. It's not clear, but I'm sure they have their procedures that they have to follow to safely exfiltrate out of that capsule. I'm sure it's not easy. I wish some of these moderators in this chat over here that has a lot of mods, I wish they would explain what's going on. There's a lot of people making weird comments. Bruno, Amazon delivers everywhere. Common. Yeah, but are they going to deliver to Mars? Can I get Amazon? No. Why not? Because this isn't the Earth, sir. Oh. Imagine you ever go on a vacation and you get homesick, you know? Yeah, you're out there wherever you're vacationing. It's 4 or 5 days, and toward the end, you kind of want to get home, you know, homesick. Now imagine you're on Mars and you get homesick for Earth. You get homesick for another planet, and they tell you, "Well, I'm sorry, there's no going back," because it takes a long time to get to Mars, like I think 2 years or something. So there's no going back. Once you decide you're going to be a Martian, well, you're going to be a Martian. You're not allowed to come back. That's the whole thing.
With the crew aboard, integrity of the crew remains in excellent shape as they await the approach of the team for a final hazard gas evaluation before they move to the side of the vehicle to erect the inflatable life raft called the front porch.
So are you guys hearing that audio? Otherwise,
No, we will not stand down and have the entry flight control team depart its positions until that inflatable raft, the front porch is erected, the hatch open, and the crew having exited the vehicle. So that's the next step in the recovery process that will lead to the hoisting of the crew members. For 2 crew members for each helicopter, they'll be hoisted to a pair of Navy helicopters that will then fly a short distance back to the USS John P. Murtha. What you're looking at is one of the fast boats circling the vehicle to make a hazard assessment.
apparently everything's going according to plan. There's something called the front porch that's supposed to deploy. Once you see the front porch deploy, then um, they'll start evacuation procedures. They're going to lift two of the astronauts at a time into helicopters and then take them on helicopters over to a big boat. So Mr. Bruno says Mars is cool, but scientists know there's no chance of colonizing Mars. I guess they're doing that because of its relative proximity. I would like to look more into Jupiter's moons. No, they're gonna colonize Mars, Bruno. Well, the moon is obviously a lot more of a certain thing that should be done by 2036, but then it's probable that it's going to be Mars. And the key to Mars is you got to send in the robots, and the robots have to set it up for human habitation because humans would not be able to do it. But the whole thing is to have the AI robots, the kind that Tesla's building, the optimum, what is it called? Optimus robots. Those type of robots in a whole fleet of them, like hundreds and thousands of them, are going to set up all the things that need to be set up so that it can work. So that's pretty ambitious. We'll see if they're able to pull it off, but that's really the plan right now. It is Mars. And so after that, who knows? I mean, yeah, maybe we do something with Jupiter after that. Maybe somebody will live on Pluto. Who knows? But yeah, the plan right now is Mars by 2036. I mean, the moon by 2036. And then once that base is there, we use it for certain purposes. And then uh, by 2050, colonize Mars.
At 27 seconds p.m. Pacific time. That would equate to a mission elapsed time of 9 days, 1 hour, 32 minutes, and 15 seconds.
So they're saying everything's going according to Hoyle. What these guys are doing now is a hazard assessment around the capsule because there's gases, there's things that the capsule could have brought with it from space. And so they're doing a hazard assessment, measuring certain things, making sure everything is safe for the astronauts to come out of the capsule. And once that's done, then they will exfiltrate them out. So this is all part of the plan. A little weird, but makes sense when you think about it. They might have picked up space cooties. So, you got to check for that. Mr. Bruno says, Europa. Europer. Barely know her. So Mars also has what they call water ice. They don't call it ice water, they call it water ice. But you got to drill down to get it. You got to have all sorts of tools and robots. That's part of Mars. So there's some pockets of what they call water ice. I don't know. That's what they call it. So then you got to use that for, I don't know, for certain purposes. But yeah, Moon, then Mars, then from there, who knows? So what we're doing is we're taking a look at this. I guess. Oh, okay. There's not many people here. So everybody jumped out. All right. Well, I guess I'll end the broadcast. Thanks for joining. I'll see you all next time.